segment there. Yeah, submit the question on the YouTube chat. Has to only be on YouTube, by the way. Ask the Tiki Man a question, and I will do my best to answer it. All right. So what's have y'all chosen 3 questions?
I know.
We know about the one.
Yeah, there's a few that's been popped in there. So.
Okay, go ahead, B-Dog.
Oh, let me go up here and get to them because we got a lot of conversation going on here. So.
I bet.
Yeah.
All right. How about Bobby McQueen wants to know, how did the chocolate bar get its name?
Oh, that's a great one, Bobby.
That is a great question, Bobby.
It's a good story.
First of all, the chocolate bar is celebrating its 10th year in existence. The Tiki Bar has been around for 20 years this summer, and the chocolate bar has been around for 10 years. And the reason that I used to travel a lot, and I spent a lot of time in Chicago, and I'd go to all these speakeasies and up in New York, and I was just always fascinated with speakeasies, and I wanted to build a bar that was kind of like that, that was covered. The walls were. It originally started out all the walls were going to be, black and white pictures and this and that, kind of like a speakeasy kind of thing. A lot of history of Chattanooga and all that stuff, and then people started wanting their own pictures on the wall. So all that kind of went away, and we ended up putting all the pictures of everybody that's been here on the wall. So there's about 450 some odd pictures or so on the wall here at the Chocolate Bar. The way it got its name was that there was a bar up in New York called the Chocolate Bar, and they featured chocolate martinis, and I used to love those chocolate martinis. And so I came home, started making chocolate martinis, and decided to create our own chocolate bar. So the chocolate bar, the floors, the walls, everything was a special color of chocolate that I had made up, and we just called it the Chocolate Bar because our signature drink is a chocolate martini.
And it is so good. All the ladies love it.
Yes. So if you ever had one of our chocolate martinis here at the bar, then that's our signature drink, and that's where the Chocolate Bar got its name.
And the Tiki Man does it really beautiful. He takes the martini glass and swirls chocolate syrup in it before he mixes the chocolate martini up, and then he pours it over the swirls of chocolate syrup.
Well, there you go.
And that's kind of your indoctrination to the Chocolate Bar, because anytime new people come around, he's always making up a fresh batch of chocolate martinis. So that's kind of your initiation, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Chocolate martini is always, if you never had a chocolate martini, because a lot of people are not martini people. And,
I like martinis.
if you've ever been to a restaurant, they always come around after your dinner and say, did you save room for dessert? And you're like, oh, no. Well, a good after-dinner drink is a chocolate martini.
It surely
Remember
is.
that. If they make it well, or if they have it there or whatever,
Beth Travers said she had the chocolate martini.
Yes, she
has. That's right, you have.
Yes, she has. So, all right. What's the next question?
Maureen Bedfield, she would like to know, when she's listening to the Tiki Man Radio app, and especially when the live stream comes on, how do you find out what the song is and who the artist is?
All right. So is she talking about when
we're live?
Okay,
because it doesn't necessarily show.
Yeah, because it shows Sunday mornings with a Tiki Man in the background, the show itself, whatever. We try to do a pretty good job of announcing who those artists are. Like the 2 back-to-back songs that I just played was from a band called McGuffey Lane. And that album was from 2010, and the first one was Bartender, which is one of my favorites. And then, of course, I played the Railroad song for all the others. But really, you can't, because what ends up happening when we're on what's called remote DJ, we are overriding the bass. And a lot of times, one of the reasons that I started putting the show in the background is because it was showing a song that was playing that we are not playing. And it kind of confused people. So now it just says Sunday Mornings with a Tiki Man. And a good way to do that through the show is to always just ask the question. You hear a song that you like, you can ask the question in the chat, and we'll be sure to tell you that. Also, if you have an app phone, a really good app is Shazam.
Yes, it's fantastic.
And a Shazam, you can be in a grocery store, you can be anywhere. If a song is playing, when you hit Shazam, it searches and it'll tell you what that song is.
By listening?
Yeah.
I got it.
I do the same thing because I have the Google. If you hit the speaker on your Google search, and it'll pop up down the bottom for song. Just click on that, and it'll listen for a few seconds, and then pop up the information as well. So that's another
Same
option.
thing that Shazam did.
Another good app out there is SoundHound. That's another good one. It does the same thing. It just listens for the and it searches all the music in the world, and if it's out there, it will pop up and tell you the album, the song, and all that good stuff. So. And it's always good if you're, in a restaurant or whatever, you're walking through, you hear a song playing, you're like, man, I love that song. Just take your app out and hit that, and boom, it'll tell you.
Okay. I saw a question in here. I'm trying to find it because I obviously want to tell you who is asking the question. Just scrolling through here trying to find it. The question in regard to, I'll let you answer the question. Maybe I can find who asked that question.
Okay.
Because in regards to your morning post,
Yes.
do you stay up all night coming up with that?
No.
I know the answer to this one.
No. Typically, the morning post, I used to get up every morning at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I would write these, just whatever chose to write about. I do it a little bit differently now, and generally I write those before I go to bed. I used to have to do it when I got up, but now before I go to bed, I write those and I put them, get them ready to post for the next morning. And that's just due to some scheduling changes and stuff that I do. But I always try to, those morning posts come out of all those years of traveling and the people that I met along the way. And I'd be in a bar, I'd be in a cab or somewhere, a train or something, and people would just always came up to me and just told me their whole life story. I mean, if we had 15 minutes, I could tell you everything about somebody because they'd tell me, and it usually just started with a hello or whatever, and people say the damnedest things. I mean, they would always have songwriters call it a hook. And I would always, if it was something real clever, I'd write it down on a napkin or a coaster or whatever I had handy, and I kept them in a shoebox for years. And then after I got out of the corporate world, from the finance business that I was in for all those years, I got the shoebox out and started writing those stories. And those early books that I have out there, those are all a collection of those early writings. But they're all real stories. They're all people that I met. There's things. Sometimes something's going on in the world, or something's going on with somebody that I know that makes me think of something that I need to write about. I really appreciate everybody that takes time to read them. I try not to make them too long. And I can usually tell when somebody just likes the picture and they don't read it. But for those of you that actually go out and read those every morning and stop by and say hi, and we start our way the positive way every morning, thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it.
And that was Patty with an I who asked that question.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Patty.
John Beck wants to know, where did you get the name Tiki Man?
Well, the Tiki Man came out of the Tiki Bar, and one thing about Tiki bars is that once you establish yourself with anything to do with Tiki, you no longer get Christmas presents or birthday presents because the Tiki Bar gets all that. It'll be a sign. Somebody will be somewhere. They'll be on vacation. They'll see something tiki, and they'll get that, and they'll bring it, or they'll send it, or they'll ship it, or whatever. And it's fantastic. Thank you for that, because it makes me think that the word tiki is, no matter how you put it in any sentence, it automatically takes you to a tropical place. And so, when I built the Tiki Bar 20 years ago. people would come over here, and then I would, I was in the Parrot Heads, River City Parrot Heads for 10 years, and they would introduce me and say, "Oh, you're that tiki guy. You're that Tiki Man," because I had the tiki bar. And when I started out in radio, I was with another radio station a buddy of mine was called Tiki Island Radio, and it was just a natural thing for me to be the Tiki Man because that's what everybody was calling me anyway. But it all came out of the Tiki Bar, which, by the way, so did the radio station. A lot of people that takes time to listen to the radio station really loves the mix of music that we have. It's not all trop rock. It's not all country. It's not all blues. It's not, it's a good mix. And all of that came out of the Tiki Bar because we used to have a 51 plus CD player out at the Tiki Bar, and we'd burn all these CDs for the summer. And, it would just sit there and rotate and play songs just like a jukebox. And every once in a while, somebody would say, "Oh, I hadn't heard that song in a long time," or whatever. So whenever I built Tiki Man Radio, the music, it was the same format of what we were playing at the Tiki Bar.
What happened to those CDs?
Well, they were
gone with the dinosaur.
I want them.
Well, they're all gone now, but I think I still have the CD player back there.
I don't need that. I got one.
And it's probably got CDs in it, by the way. Anyway, one year, because we would, once we started the chocolate bar, everything kind of moved in the wintertime. And then, because we don't really have bad winters here. I know everybody laughs at our winters up north. I get it. I understand. We complain a lot, but we don't really have bad winters here. But once I built the chocolate bar, everybody just naturally came inside, so we'd shut everything down out there. And one year when we got ready my son Brad, Bahama Brad, was living with me. A lot of y'all remember the early days when Bahama Brad was on the radio with us as well.
He was very good.
Yeah. And I started, we're taking everything out to get the Tiki Bar up and going. So I grabbed the CD player, and he's like, "Dad, hold on just a second. Let me introduce you to digital music." And
we can play it from our phones now.
We can now play it by our phones now, Dad. So this was many years ago. And so we eventually rolled everything over, and now we have a iPad out there that just plays the radio station.
So the transition
really cool.
between songs is quicker with the non-automated CD thing that you had, where it had to cycle through and then finally load another one and so on. So there was a silent gap in there, whereas now they just blend in.
Now it's just part of the radio station.
Right.
So basically, everything we had on the CD player was in the radio station anyway. So,
Got it.
But yeah.
I have another good one.
Alrighty.
Tammy Creech says, "What type of corporation did you work at prior to being the Tiki Man?"
Oh, okay. Well, I was in the finance business. I worked for a company called Brundage Management, and I was a divisional vice president for that company. I had all of Alabama, Tennessee, and Illinois. And so I did that for about 20 years. And then the guy that owned the company decided that he was going to sell off everything but Texas. That's where we were based out of, San Antonio. San Antonio is one of my favorite places to go. Love Texas in general. They just don't have a lot of beaches there.
They do have some.
They do have some down on the coast. But
Right.
it was a finance business, Tammy, and I really loved that business. I had a lot of employees. I still have employees that
They still call him daily.
call me, all the time. They're managers or vice presidents somewhere at different companies or whatever, and I hear from them from time to time. But once he sold the company, he gave me a really good severance package. It's almost 2 years worth of salary, so I headed down to Key West and spent about 3 months down there and started writing books and building the radio station.
Which I think is an amazing story.
Yeah.
That's really fun. And then you kind of just did your own thing for a few years before building the radio station. Yeah.
Yeah, when it was just me,
Yeah.
I was building business plans for people.
He was.
I had people that would pay me to come up with a 5-year business plan so they could go and borrow money. And based off of the information they gave me, I would, somewhat guarantee it. if they took it to the bank and they said they needed this or that, whatever, I could redact it. But most of the time, based off of the information they gave me, I could give them a 5-year business plan. Now, a lot of times their business model didn't work.
Right.
If you're not making money in that 5th year, you're probably going to go out of business. So a lot of times people would come and they would hire me as a consultant to say, hey, I've got this idea. I want to hire you, and you tell me, basically how much money I'm going to need over the next 5 or 10 years to make this work. Restaurants and bars, they come and go. People don't know how to manage them. And so I did that for about 3 years, I guess, something like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. I remember the last one that you had to do a business plan for, wasn't it? It was some dude in California with an idea for 200 flavors of popcorn or something like that.
Yeah, there's franchises out there for popcorn franchises. The last one that I remember seeing was in St. Charles, and outside of St. Louis, right across the river there was a franchise there. I think there's one over in Hickson. There used to be a popcorn store over there that has like 50 different flavors of popcorn and all this stuff. And he wanted to do that as well. But I never could get the, I got all the research that I could from franchises across America and all this stuff. If your overhead was really high, you wasn't going to make no money in the popcorn business.
No.
Is that pre-popped or?
Yeah, it's all bagged up.
It's already bagged and popped. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
that doesn't sound appealing to me. But if they had bags that you could pop your own, and the oil was where the flavoring was, so that it kind of created the.
I broke out the popcorn machine yesterday, the one we got upstairs. I got to get a scoop though for it. One thing that didn't come with it is a scoop to put it in the bag.
Oh, we need a scoop for sure. You've got the new salt shaker and everything. He's got this cool popcorn machine. It's really nice. It looks very carnival like, like you go to the carnival and get your popcorn.
You can put your butter on there and all that good stuff.
Sure, I know. And I'm pretty sure you could find a popcorn scoop. They need to be a little deeper than an ice scoop.
Yeah, well, they make them so it's narrow at the bottom, so it slides right in the bag. Mm-hmm. And you can find anything on Amazon.
You could probably go to Ace Hardware here on the 58 because they used to have a popcorn machine before COVID, and when COVID showed up, they shut it down. I'll bet it's in the back, and you can say, "Hey, you want to sell that thing?"
Yeah, right. All right, so there you go. That is the segment there with Ask the Tiki Man. Thank you so much for submitting your questions. And
if we didn't get to your questions, remind us again next week because we'll do this for whenever.